Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it. And really appreciate our outstanding Ag Commissioner being here with us. Doug, thanks for coming out. Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope you had a good Christmas. And Happy New Year as well. And thanks for, I know it's kind of holiday season, a lot of busy schedules, but thanks for coming out and talking ag with us this morning. Really appreciate it. Thanks to the Ag Commission, also to Brad Tickerson of the FSA. And I really wanted both of them here, as well as all of you, first to kind of go through where we're at in terms of the disaster assistance, the MFP, as well as the trade agreements, and then kind of get some of their opening thoughts as well. And then really, you know, this is going to be a discussion about how we get these things implemented the right way. Because, you know, now that we've got them, let's make sure they work for our producers. What do you think, Wuggsy? Does that make sense to you?
Perfect sense.
Yeah, be honest. I'll be honest, you know. Gentle, but honest. So, you know, the idea is to make sure that these things work in terms of how they're implemented by Department of Agriculture and by specifically FSA. And so I know you've got a ton on your plate, but we want to help you get this stuff implemented the right way. And that being said, a lot of the things that we put in the disaster assistance are things that we got from you. You know, so as we have these meetings around the state, the producers, our leaders of the commodity groups, and Ag Commissioner, and our local USDA leadership, and of course, great group. Greg, thanks for being here on behalf of NDSU Bison. And in case anyone missed it, the Bison are back in the national championship. Just in case you missed it, so go Bison! And really excited about that. I've only missed one, so I'd sure like to get down there this year, but if I can, I'm going for sure. And it looks like Jamie's got a pretty good team too, so it'll be an epic battle. But it really is important that now, as they implement this stuff, they do it as well as possible. So let me start out and talk just a little bit about the Ag Appropriations bill and what we did with the additional disaster assistance. So obviously we write that bill in my Ag Appropriations committee, and so we worked hard in the disaster assistance not only to get the additional $1.5 billion, but also to put provisions in there to make sure that it gets used by USDA and FSA the right way. In the earlier disaster assistance that we put together in May, which was about $3 billion, and as we knew, you know, we were anticipating having difficulty, but not nearly the level of difficulty that we had in this weather. I don't have to tell you, but obviously an unprecedented year in terms of weather. And of course, that's why we need the additional $1.5 billion, and we're hopeful that will be enough, along with the earlier $3 billion to cover it. But it's not just the funding that we worked to get. We also added provisions in terms of how USDA and FSA utilizes the funding. First, related to the sugar program. So we included authorization back in May for USDA to provide help on things like sugar, but it wasn't directed that they do. Well, in this bill, we added language saying you will provide help for our sugar producers, and here's how you're going to do it. And that's based on input from people that grow sugar beets. And essentially, it works through the cooperative so that it comes out to about a 92.5% insurance coverage on insurable value. But we're working it through the cooperatives because you've got some situations, and I know Rick's here, is Tom here too?
Yeah, right here. Yeah.
And we'll talk to those guys about it in more detail. But for the producer that went out there and incurred all those expenses and difficulties trying to harvest versus one that wasn't able to harvest at all, you got disparity, and so this addresses it. So it's not, we're no longer in a situation where USDA may provide help, they now will provide help. We require that, and two, they work it through the cooperative so it comes out in a way that is fair. That's absolutely what we want. So that was a provision we wrote in there that we should talk about some more. And again, it's about making sure it gets done right and well, and hopefully reasonably soon. And believe me, I know how busy you guys are, but now's the time when my guys need help. Another one is the quality. We also added language on a quality loss adjustment. So under crop insurance, the way we design WIC Plus, you get some additional coverage on top of your crop insurance, right? We talked about that before. You all understand that pretty well. But you've got not only loss of bushel. This is something Commission had talked about quite a bit. You not only got the loss of bushels, but you also have deterioration in the crop. Is that, whether it's wheat crop, corn crop, you name it, as it's sitting out there and of course getting rained on day after day, it's deteriorating, then you can't harvest it. So you already have all the numbers and all these other issues with quality. And so the second provision we put in there is FSA will help with quality loss adjustment. And that's something we need to have a discussion about today. You've got Brad here. They need to figure out how to do that, okay? And so that's certainly something that we want to discuss, and I want you all to give input back to FSA on that provision as to how they should be trying to do that on quality loss adjustment. Other things we added also are that if you had excess moisture or drought in 18 or 19, because remember, this covers 2 years, 2018 and 2019. So we added language saying, well, if you had drought or excess moisture, you qualify for the WIC Plus programs. It doesn't have to be a singular event like the blizzard, because we have some counties and we have some growers that had other impacts, but it wasn't a function of a single storm. For example, in 2018, I don't know if we have some cattle guys here from that, up in that Towner and Rugby area, but they had issues with drought, D3 drought. And so then this would include them under D3 drought. You don't have to, if you got to the D3 drought, you qualify. You don't have to be in there for 8 consecutive weeks, which is the way it traditionally works. Or if you had excess moisture, but it wasn't specifically included or something like that, you qualify. Or if your crop froze in the ground, Donovan, like your potato guys, that's not one singular event. Of course, that affected the sugar beet guys too. That's happened over time. But if you end up not getting your crop because it was wet and then it freezes in the ground, you're covered. So we added those provisions as well. So the idea is to make sure that for these various situations, all of which constitute part of this weather disaster, our guys aren't left out for some technical reason, if you will. And there was a meeting up at, I'm not sure, up in Grand Forks. I don't know if it was with you guys or somewhere, where some of these things were coming up, and guys were saying, well, I wasn't covered because I wasn't in the county with the blizzard or whatever. Well, this is designed to address those things as we looked at that list and make sure that our producers are covered under these variety of weather problems. So that's kind of the main items on the disaster assistance that we should go through a little bit. We also included, because we also cover ag research funding, we also worked really hard to get some additional money in ag research. Watch, see, we got the $15 million for some ag research, okay? That was right at the top. And, sometimes I feel like some of our guys out west, whether it's our cattle guys or some wheat growers, barley growers, they have real challenges too. And so we got to be trying to help out with some of those issues that affect not only this year, but on a longer-term basis, like disease, like the scab issue, and some of these others. And I'm very concerned about all these different things now, like falling numbers and all these different tests that when you go in, you keep getting downgraded. And so you look at that crop, you think you're going to get a certain price for it, and then you don't. And so we got to figure out how to address some of those things. And obviously, the great work that USDA does through research and extension, battling disease and some of these things, hopefully will help get rid of some of those problems. Not 1 year, but over time. And Fisher's here too, and he knows everything where he knows everything that was ever known about wheat. He knows it, so he can help us out on that. And then for the canola guys, for the potato guys, for a number of you guys that came in and wanted more money in ag research area, we got that in a lot of cases. Maybe not every case, but a lot of the cases as well. So we've got more money for both the university-based and the ARS-based research stuff, particularly in some of those areas that Zach is here. Okay, so then on the trade payment, marketing, facilitation payment assistance, we're in the second, these guys, and Brad can talk about it some more, getting out the second payment second round of the second payment. Second payment, the second round, is that right?
Second tranche.
Second tranche of the
75%.
of the second round of MFP payments. So now we're working on FSA to make sure they get that third and final one out there as well, and then get that done time. So we talked about that a little bit as well. And then trade agreements. I think we are seeing progress now in trade agreements. As you know, the House moved USMCA. That's good. We'll move it as quick as we can in the Senate. There's some requirements that has to go to the Finance Committee first, those kind of things. But I think we'll get it moved as soon as we can. We have the votes for it, and as soon as we can put it on the floor and move it based on what we have to do under the rules and requirements, we'll do it. And I've been pushing on that. And the other thing is, Japan now has ratified the agreement with Japan. That helps us particularly for some of our crops, like corn and wheat and beef. And then the phase one China deal. I had talked to Lighthizer. I've also talked to members of his team. They hope probably Lighthizer, we'll see, but maybe Lighthizer going to China, signing the deal with President Xi. They hope to have that done early in January. And that includes requirements for purchases from China. And I had that specific discussion with Lighthizer. And it's 40 to 50 billion a year in 2021, each year, that they're supposed to buy in ag products. And so I hope that combined with some of these things, and maybe if we can get a little break on the weather one of these days, we start getting things a little back in the right direction. So that's kind of an overview in those three areas where we are right now: disaster assistance, the marketing facilitation program, and trade. The other area, of course, is the farm bill. Mark Watney, we added $35 million to the fifth. In the farm bill, we only had $15 million for implementation of the farm bill. And I guess you would say that was nowhere near enough. We added 35, so we now have 50 million. FSA has 50 million for implementation of the farm bill. So that'll help. And I've got a big initiative going on, more bodies in FSA. And I think I'm working on something with Bill Northey, as well as Sensible, of course, about getting more bodies out there in FSA. As you know, they have wanted to do reorganization. We're concerned about any enclosing of office as far as service in rural areas, trying to get something worked out. And my approach on this is we'll be back to you guys with USDA saying, okay, we want more people out there. What are you guys willing to support in terms of FSA trying to move forward on that? They have the money. We made sure they have the money to hire these positions. They haven't been hired yet. We want them moving on that. They certainly need it with all the things they're doing right now. And so we're hard to work on that as well. And then for the cattle guys, I talked to Assistant Secretary Ibach. He pronounces, I guess he's a producer from Nebraska. Here we pronounce it Ibach, but I think he pronounces it Ibach. Yeah, Ibach. Can you imagine mispronouncing your own name? He's a great guy. The good news is he's a cattle producer from Nebraska. I think he gets it. They're doing a study now on the market concentration, transparency, accountability, all that kind of stuff, pricing. And we need them to give us some help for our cattle producers. And so I've been pressing them pretty hard to try to come up with something. And we'll see what happens. So that's going on today. So I think that's kind of most of the items. Commission, whatever you want to cover.
Well, thank you, Senator Hoeven, and again, kudos for the foresight to even include us in Web Plus last spring. That we wouldn't be at the table today talking about all this if you hadn't started that to begin with. And thank you for the extra $1.5 million. It's going to go a long ways once we determine how much we've actually lost, didn't get harvested. God forbid that should happen, but I know on my own farm we're seeing it. There's probably about 5% of our soybeans we know we aren't going to get. And I'd like to say, think we can get all the corn, but we got 12 inches of snow and it's letting a lot of mud. And we've had some challenges. We've been out there a few times trying to get that wet corn. And just pulled back for a while and we're going to see what happens. I also want to say thank you to Secretary Perdue and Brad and Undersecretary Norby. You guys have been great to work with. I know we catch up about it for 3 weeks, it seems like. But there's one other guy that you brought up here a while back, and I got to thank him. Administrator Barbie. I think I don't know if I've worn out my welcome with him yet, but at least 2 or 3 times a week, we're talking, texting. He even answered one of my texts on Christmas Eve. I thought that was pretty honorable. Working through a lot of things, and my thanks to Greg and the SU Extension. We've been working with them to survey a lot of different issues out there on behalf of the livestock producers, on behalf of our corn farmers, and trying to really determine what the quality issues are. And with respect to mold, we actually found about 11 counties that show significant mold issues. And I reported that up to Administrator Barbary. I also shared with them where test weights fall within the state. About half of our state is below 50% or below 50 pounds. We even have 5 counties that are 44 and 45 pounds. And these are things that the administrator certainly wants to know. His whole goal is not to overstep or put pressure on companies to actually do something. I think it's to assure those companies that are out here doing adjustments and work with our farmers that they're not going to pull pin on it. I think the fear has been in the past. Companies do a good job adjusting the crop, and then what has happened is RMAs come in and they've said, no, we don't agree with that, and then they don't pay their fair share on the back end of the reinsurance. And companies get left holding the bag. He has assured me that all the information they're collecting, they're sharing, they're going to support companies that go out and do good, honest adjustments and appraisals. If there is a problem, you know that farmers, if they're concerned about that, they need to not necessarily sign off on the claim right away until they feel comfortable and confident that it is what it is. Otherwise, they're stuck. So my thanks to you for bringing them up here. And I think we had a really good meeting in Minot. Got into a lot of issues, and in fact, he's still working on some things that we talked about up there. One of the things we need to continue to follow up with him on is potentially doing like a township enterprise unit. And he says he thinks he can do it without having to go through some big long process, but we need to follow up and encourage him. Farmers are interested at least knowing how to be placed out, what it look like. And the other things that I appreciate the appropriations you got for research. I mean, our coarse grains, our small grains, wheat and barley, the predictive modeling tool. What a great concept. Good product. We're so glad you secured some funds there. I know that it's research is one of those things that doesn't show up next year. You don't get to hang your hat on it and talk about how great it is until about 10 years later, maybe 7 years later. But it always has a great payback for agriculture. When we think about where we were 10 years ago, or 25 years ago, we use half as much nitrogen now to produce a bushel of corn than we did 25 years ago. And that would be without ARS, without our universities and land-grant universities, the work they put into it, and all the funds that are supported by our checkoffs, our councils, and the good work that they do to find those issues and really support the efforts in getting some good work done. So thank you, and thank everybody. I know it's been a challenging year, and I just encourage you to find someone in your neighborhood, find a friend across the state that you know, just check on once in a while. And we all need each other. This isn't going to be easy. It's challenging. The MFP payments help every so often for our livestock. Some of them are in dire straits. Some of them only have enough feed for the next 60 days. And they're stuck having to purchase feed, and it's in part why we put a program together and approved by the Emergency Commission to help offset some of the cost of transportation. And I know that some approached me and wanted to do more, but I didn't know how much more we could do that goes above and beyond what normal activities would be in the fall, with respect to moving hay and feed. So at least if someone is stuck in a position where they have to purchase feed, hay, supplements, at least we have a program in place to help offset some of the cost of transporting that back to your operation. So get a hold of us. But again, thank you. Belated Merry Christmas to everyone. And Happy New Year. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Commish. Well, let's turn to you now for just kind of an update on some of these different things that you're working with.
Yeah, so I don't want to take a whole lot of time, but just we talked about MFP. In 2018 in North Dakota, an MFP 1.0, we issued $430 million to the North Dakota producers. We're at the 75% level now. We've done tranche 1 and tranche 2, so 75% of MFP 2.0 that is, projected, but currently we've paid out $536 million. So if we finish this deal on MFP 2.0, we'd be at $714 million that we put in the producers' hands in 2019. That's almost double of the first MFP go-around. The thing that
you're talking about in North Dakota.
Just in North Dakota.
It's an important distinction.
Yeah, well, we can get national statistics anywhere else, but this is all about North Dakota.
So you're talking about 2019 for North Dakota to be how much?
2019, if we finish the third tranche, if that comes in January. Now the
when you finish the third tranche?
Okay, I guess we're getting that today. That's $714 million in the producers' hands from the 2019 crop. So those are big dollars. The thing is that MFP and this group can help us. That has to do with the trade tariff. That has nothing to do with what's going on with Mother Nature outside in that crop in the field. And that's where the WIP Plus program and the senators had a good vision back when WIP Plus was first initiated from the Nebraska floods. Basically, that's where it came from. WIP stands acronym for Wildfire Hurricane Indemnity Program, and he put in the language snowstorm, so that the October 10 snowstorm put us in a WIP Plus category, along with putting us in an emergency disaster declaration as the secretary. And I just want to tip my hat to Commissioner Gorey's staff. We pulled that off. I had staff at the state office, and we had emergency board meetings of all our counties and got that information up to Secretary Perdue. And we have 47 out of the 53 counties that were declared eligible for secretarial disaster declaration. But WIP Plus now in the state, we have applications. Currently, we got 213 applications, but we're kind of holding off because as we speak, WIP Plus with the enhancement of the $1.5 billion is going to be a little bit of a change, along with the fact that we now can add the verbiage excessive moisture, and that's been a big caveat that's held a lot of our applications from being processed. So looking forward to after the Christmas holiday and the New Year's holiday that we get these applications processed and we start moving to that. And of course, like the Senator alluded to, that we also are in the ARC PLC sign-up, so that's also happening as we speak. So after the first of the year, when people get the Christmas holiday behind them and start thinking about 2020, we expect our offices to be very, very busy. And also, I would like to tip my hat to the Senator because inside trading says that we are going to get more staff people, and that this budget is going to help us with that. And we're very excited about that. That there's definitely a recognition that these farm programs get added on to each county office, and we're cutting staff. It isn't just the producers that are going through emotional stress and all that. It's also these government workers. So. 2020 is not going to be an easy lift because we got a lot of uncertainty out there with the weather and all the things that producers will have to face getting that crop in the bin. But we'll get her done. We got the tools, and the Senator here is making sure we have that resource to get it done. So.
Thanks, man. Appreciate what you and your team are doing. Aaron Weber back there and Tom Boostegard over there. And of course, Cassie Glato, my chief step. We've got a lot of great people who, grew up in ag, get ag, and obviously, it is our first party working ag. So I want to thank them. And they're out there talking to you guys. A lot of the stuff that we work on back there, stuff that we get directly from you, because these guys are talking to you and getting that good input. We also have Savannah Block. Her father was, of course, former U.S. Secretary of Agriculture. So we have great folks in ag. I do want to mention thank them. On the cattle thing, the commission, along with the governor and others, have been working overtime to try to get some help out there with feed assistance and that kind of thing. Remember, you also have the Emergency Livestock Assistance Program for those cattle producers. That, again, they work through FSA and try to get some help on feed assistance as well. Of course, livestock indemnity program if they had death loss, or even if, as a result of blizzard or something, animals got sick. So don't forget either DLAP or lift in livestock world as well. So with that, let's just kind of open this up, and again, let's go around on these different issues. Let's maybe start with Tom, and I think Rick Casper's here. So there he is, Rick with MNDAC. And so let's start out on the sugar provision. Again, you guys have been great about not only meeting with Northie here, but coming down to DC. My concern with that is Northie, saying that he had the authority to move forward, but whether they were going to or not, and then second, how they were going to do it. So I think it's very important you guys have that issue. But kind of just jump in, what do we need to make sure we're getting done to make this work? And obviously, Brad and his crew here, they're the tip of the spirit as far as over.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. We are now here talking about how and when, not if, in terms of sugar beet disaster assistance. Thank you, Minister, for that. And for your understanding of how the sugar beet business works. And there really is no market for sugar beets. The cooperatives are an extension of the farm, and therefore this weather situation impacted those who harvested and those who did not harvest. So now I think as we move forward, we just look forward to working with USDA on the how part. How are they going to allocate it amongst the cooperatives? How are we going to allocate it to our members? We have ideas of what might be the right way to do it, because the USDA is going to have some rules and restrictions themselves, and I just think we need to roll up our sleeves here in the next few weeks and work out how that makes sense. All of our members and all the other co-ops around the country. So that's really, big thanks to you, and look forward to rolling up our sleeves with USDA in the next few weeks.
Rick?
Maybe echoing some of Tom's thoughts as well, and first of all, Senator Hoeven and Commissioner Gehring, the USDA, the time of communication, the seriousness of it. It's not lost, in our case, and certainly with American Crystal and others, the efforts that were made by our farmers to try and get this crop out of the ground. The factory team being responsible for taking those beets and producing sugar It was unbelievable, the efforts, in just terrible conditions. In our case, we were able to still get about 75, but that creates a severe hardship for our farmers. So the ongoing communication and echoing, moving this forward as quickly as possible, because we are have farmers and owners that are in a very difficult situation, both in terms of timing as well, because we'll look forward to having a new crop in the ground here in the spring, depending on how much Mother Nature behaves with the rest of the winter. But we can't thank you enough for the great communication back and forth in helping us do the right thing for our farmers.
Well, and we can ask Pat, just the cash flow issue, right? And that's something that I've been talking to the commission about, you know, and you can see it on his farm. I mean, it's so bizarre. You got all this snow, and then you got all this standing corn. You know, when you fly over it, it's almost kind of weird. You see snow, and you see all this corn. But the cash flow issue, so for you guys, and remember that the basic concept is we took, you know, average crop insurance is about 75%, and then added the 17.5 on to come out to about 92.5% coverage under the program. But you've got this disparity. Some people have the cost of harvesting, some didn't. So that's why it has to work through the cooperatives to make it fair. But how do you get going? Because these guys all have bank loans and stuff like that, and you know, interest box running on the bank loans.
Not only that, but once the checks are cut from USDA, I suspect all the cooperatives are going to need some time to get our own payment system set up to then cut those checks to our members. So, yeah, the sooner the better.
That's where we need to work forward a little bit. And that's the others that really have to hone in on this one first now. We've got it. Like I said, we're working. How do you work ahead on that? So you're running a little bit concurrent, you know what I mean?
It is hard to work ahead because we have more questions than answers right now as to what rules USDA is going to place on these payments, how it's going to, you know, integrate with crop insurance situations. We just don't know. So it's hard to work ahead.
Well, if there's something we can do there or the industry, so you know, at your level, obviously, it's one thing you're out there trying to look up. We maybe have to work up the change a little bit. And I think we need to get it. I mean, we know what that ultimate objective is that 92.5% target we set for them. You all then are going to have to make the adjustments on the ground, so to speak. And so I'd like to, you know, keep that process moving. So I don't know if that means you guys come back down and meet with USDA again, or what.
You know, I can see all the sugar beet CEOs and CFOs going to DC and just sitting down and hammer through it.
It's kind of what I'm thinking, is that I think, because you know the guys that we met with at USDA that are going to work this out. And I wonder if we should just try to, Aaron?
Yep.
Where are you?
Got it.
Why don't we pull together a meeting where we get these guys down there and sit down with the guys that are going to just kind of hand perfectly design to guys like Brad.
That would be ideal.
So we'll set up a meeting. Pat or Jason, I guess, thoughts.
Well, I guess I'd just like to say, Senator, that thank you to also commissioners, USDA, and other elected officials, because you know, we know it's been a hard time for agriculture. In August, MINDAC pulled the samples, which give us an indication as to what our crop looks like. And we got one of the best looking crops going forward. The samples in August. When Mother Nature threw us the curveball, as everybody with the wet conditions and so forth, ended up where we had to do some extreme measures as far as what Rick alluded to with the harvest, where we literally threw up the plug when it came to harvest, because there were circumstances that were just beyond what we had come across before. So in order to get roughly 340,000 tons of beets that were frozen, which was extremely risky on our part as the co-op, but it was necessary in order to help bolster the payment to growers and to help mitigate the loss to crop insurance. And so we went that route, and we were very, I guess, successful, if you could use that term, in that process. We were able to work with them very well, but in general, we ended up with probably one of the worst crops we've ever had in the history of Mid-Back in its 47 years. The issue going forward is, Mother Nature might throw the curveball this spring, because we know that we've got ground that was not tilled, crops still on the field, wet conditions and so forth. So we're not out of the woods, but farmers, being the optimistic group that they are looking forward to getting started with 2020. But we are extremely thankful and grateful for the efforts that everyone's put forward, because we put an effort forward as growers, but to see the effort that you all have put forward is tremendous, is what we have. So we certainly appreciate that in all aspects. And coupled with what Tom made reference to as far as getting the money in the growers' hands, the issue that we look at from a grower standpoint is, if we don't have the money right then and there, then at least we can go to our lender and say that, hey, we know that this process is going to be moving forward, we know that it's all going to be there. That makes the vendors feel more comfortable knowing that that's part of the plan also. So we certainly appreciate every effort that everyone's put forward. We're extremely grateful.
And that was the other thing, is we also provide, they don't send it out, kind of like the MFP where they send out 50%. So we're provided, we're supposed to send out the payment. So it's not going to be strung out.
Sure. Yeah, Senator David Miller, the recent board chair for American, privileged to have that seat. I'm going to echo what all these guys have said. Normally American Crystal sends out a check for 65% of the projected payment in November. And for the guys that didn't get any beets lifted, there are some, they didn't get a check. In fact, they probably got to do it for fixed costs, as you know. And the guys that did lift it only got maybe at best 2/3 of what they thought they would expect, which was an increase due to volume of crop. So most of these guys have payments based around that date, and they didn't get it. So I think the sooner this can be expedited, the better for those producers. And as Pat said, at least they can go to the banker and say that I think it's coming, but I think there'd be a lot more comfort knowing that it's coming or when it's coming. Going to church services over Christmas can be Hillsborough, going to 2-3 of them. You can see the disparity in farm size. They still have corn out there, even though they didn't get even half the wheat. So corn out there, they still have concern about how next spring is going to go. Appreciate your comments, Commissioner, because we need these things together. There's a lot of concern out there. Thank you.
Yeah, that was one of the challenges for us. Working with USDA, and they had authority to put it in motion, but we hadn't said yet whether they would, and the funding issue. So hopeful now that some of these farmers are getting a little more space from their lender, right? Well, they get this. But I think that's why it's important that you and whoever else you want to come out on behalf of the growers, as well as the processing side, we'll try to pull that meeting. With some of these people who are this morning, if there is a way to connect that in. Any other thoughts?
No. Well, I don't know if I mentioned this, but we got 2,700 thank yous to you. That's Commissioner. And just
well, thanks for stepping up at a tough time.
yeah, I mean, interesting.
And it is a concern too, as far as getting in the ground next year. A lot of this is important to get squared away so they can. And the corn thing we want to talk about a little bit more, particularly maybe as we shift into the quality laws. That's a bit of a catch-22 for a lot of guys right now. Anything else on the grower side that you or Jason?
Senator, I'd just like to piggyback what these guys have said. Thank you again for that disaster money, because I recently was at my bank talking with them. And the importance of this money this year is unprecedented. Without something to go there and visit with the lenders, the growers would be in a tough situation. Just want to say thank you for that. And they implement it and make sure that they stay on the project as everybody at Wyoming thinks.
Well, that was the whole purpose for this meeting today, is to keep this moving.
Perfect. Thank you.
Because I know, I mean, we understand very well that loans are out there, face anxiety, and just watch them.
Senator,
Did you
just
have
maybe
something
one
else?
other thing, mentioning on the quality side, it wasn't just the inability to get our tons in, but also we saw a fairly significant sugar loss too, just with the economy trying to get them. So both volume and also the sugar content ended up being fairly low as well.
Yeah, that's important to point out. Because it certainly kind of leads us right into the quality piece, which of course then not only affects sugar, but the corn guys, the wheat guys, and everyone else. You want to start out there, Commission? Let's talk about that quality piece.
Well, and I know that from those previous conversations we had up in Minot, Minister Barbie was certainly open to how do we do some things different going forward. And being cognizant of what some of the problems were, I know with, whether we're talking about scab, we're talking about falling numbers, vomitoxin. I mean, it seemed like we were getting hit with everything this year, just, on the small grains, on durum and on the wheat crop. I think what the frustrating part was that we shared as farmers and continue to share, I believe, every year with RMA is the fact that our discounts are not aligning with what the real quality issues are that exist in that crop. And then the other problem is when they start to make the adjustments and it translates from dollars on the discounts back to bushels. You might have produced a 60 bushel crop, but by the time they get done, just so you get an indemnity payment, you're clear down to 32 bushels, and holy cow, you produce 60. So how do you find some happy medium there and still address some of the issues? I'm glad he was open to that. I think that's going to take a lot of work going forward. It's going to take a lot of work from a lot of us to address this and help our nation look at some different type of quality adjustments as they go forward. It's going to affect you guys on the tonnage part. I want to start taking that part away. The quality issues on the corn, I think that was one of the good conversations, another good conversation we had up there. What's not going to be marketable? You got somebody that's walking through the door and shows a sample that has some mold on it, and maybe it's not advertised, but there's mold there. You got enough of it out here in the countryside, and you got 47 pounds. Can you even market that? And I was just really happy that again we had that conversation this week. If we have something that we can't market it, we need to really take a close look at how we can adjust that crop. And grant you, I'm speaking on behalf of the administrator. I'm not speaking for the administrator. Our conversation and his sympathetic ear towards this issue is great to have. It's been a long time since we have somebody that comes from the farm and actually gets this. So we do, whether it's small grains, whether it's corn or sugar beets. Soybeans didn't seem to have as many of those issues this year. But our sunflowers they got problems with rot, stem rot. God, I still have to deal with seaweed. Well, I wish the disease would happen to them. That's probably a little bit of opening up the conversation, but I know these guys have been hearing it from their farmers. I hear it from our farmers. So everybody's got a different story to tell this year, and it's all over the board. I dealt with vomitoxin, scab, and my falling numbers, depending on which load it was, I had it or I didn't. So it hurts.
So what are some thoughts in terms of how they should try to approach the quality loss?
Can I go? I don't have much
Yeah.
left. Doug's covered 90% of what I was going to say already.
Fish did?
Thank you very much. Yeah, he's living it just like most
Yeah, he sure
everybody
is.
else at this table. I guess, like you said, the most corn is 46, 47, 48 pounds. Well, elevators can't take it because they can't ship it. So like you said, we have high bushel corn out there that nobody can use. The ethanol plants can take it, but they use a little bit under 40% of the crop, so that's 2.5 years.
How wet can you deliver it to the ethanol?
Well, a lot of mine's going on in about 20, so I have to dry it down to 20, and they'll take it. So they do accept a little higher, but discounts are so much higher. So it's cost effective to dry it to about 20. I guess I did run some numbers. Most of my corn is around 47 pounds, which equates out to about a 28% reduction in value. By the time you figure test weight, the average, you have to have that protocol. Elevators finding coming in. So, a couple of the elevators, less than 10% of their contracted corn for November, December is coming in. So there's nothing that makes it great because they won't accept anything under 50 pounds. There's hardly out there. What you see, you're kind of looking for some numbers, guidelines for the quality loss option. You're right with the big bushels out there, the quality that he wants. There's a big difference in them. When the adjuster comes out and looks at your crop, you have 180, 190 bushel corn bucket spots. You won't get crop insurance because of that. Even with the quality, the test weight factor that they have, what the cost covers. That's what I'm glad the plus program actually did go into that. Like a starting number, this is me personally, just looking at the RMAs, 48.9. Starting there and working down as a percentage.
That sounds like opening for you, Brett.
Well, opening for, well, on the quality issue, but I think with our WIP Plus, what we're going to have to work with is RMA's, protocol and base our numbers off of whatever the indemnity gets to be. So I think, getting Martin on board and getting this quality adjustment is going to definitely be, tied hand in hand with the WIP Plus implementation dollars. So, adjusting that to 48.9, you said this should. Currently, we're at 44.
Well, that's, yeah, the 44 is where crop insurance covers.
Right.
44 and below.
Is nothing, right? I mean, it's kind of.
You have the option to structure crop.
It's tonnage based on tonnage.
Yeah, so we're based at, from 44 to 50, the elevator to take it is that's our
Right.
gap.
There's no
Most of the
man's
corn in the
line.
state is ag.
Yeah.
So this might be meeting number 2 where we get the ag commission and a couple guys to come on.
And RMAs.
And get RMA, get Martin Marbury there.
Yep.
Right? Because you gotta fit it together.
Yep.
I've talked to Aaron. I know Randy Melvin, our president, we're going to be down in the end of January.
Okay.
For
So let's,
other
what do
things
you think,
we're
Commissioner?
hoping to
Let's also start setting up a meeting where we get, Martin there, get you there. You already got a great relationship. And Martin's a good guy. A number of you have met him. I mean, he's a real live farmer in Indiana. He gets it. He sees it from the farmers.
I think we can do that. I'm actually going to be in DC the last week.
So let's program, and hopefully that'll drive some preliminary work.
Yep.
So by the time we have that meeting, we get a result,
Yeah.
Like, we don't
At
sit
least
around and
we'll
wait, no, well, we're gonna have meetings where I can squat and tell. That, no. I'll talk to both, the company and Martin, and let's be doing homework, and then have that meeting with the idea we're actually gonna get something, okay?
That works. That's great. Do some brainstorming.
What else on that? So we're getting into the corn a little bit. What about leadership? So what are the thoughts? Dennis?
Small grains, we talked about this quality loss thing when we're line on, it's
to, how to address that quality loss thing when you do a good crop, and then, moving forward, if it could be possible to not lose our yield histories over quality losses. We grew the crop. It just wasn't worth it, and take a hit on your history moving forward. That's going to be a tough time. So I don't know what the answer is. If we could come up with some kind of an idea on that would be huge.
Well, this is where I think you can beat some influence, right, in some of these areas. And so that's where I'd like to get some of this input into FSA sooner, not later, because they now have a requirement they have to make the quality loss assessment. What does that mean? How are they going to do it? So I want to make sure we are giving them some input on it. Right up front.
It's not going to be easy.
No, we have to find, because the problem is now they have to take the value of the discount, translate it into bushels, so that it triggers the claim, and then to justify it, that's what they show OIG and OMB and everybody else to say, see, this is a legitimate claim, they came in under their guarantee. How do we get some other factor using the discount formula, but getting to the point where it doesn't actually ding your APH, because it's not like we got high APHs, it takes 10 years to build them up. Don't want to give that up. Yeah.
Could we find something in like maybe the small barley? We're just trying that out for two. But, that would, I don't think that, does that come off the APH or not?
Well, you see, we're crossing, FSA is basically not in the rules and regs of what RMA does. So that's where, the senator's talking about getting Martin, or Commissioner, to get Martin here to get into this quality adjustment. The thing with FSA and WIP Plus, we're just going to use that indemnity process that they arrive at on RMA to enhance. WIP Plus is basically a top-up. It's just, it's boosting up your indemnity payment or your indemnity insurance level. Where that insurance level is, that's what we've got to work at.
Right, if basically WIP Plus is if you didn't have crop insurance, it covers 70%. If you do have crop insurance, then it adds an increment of 15 and 20% onto the coverage you have, not to exceed 95% of your insurable value. So this is going to have to work together. Just, the whole program is designed to work. The concept here was, see, because WIP Plus is different. WIP was designed for wildfires and hurricanes, wildfire, hurricane, and WIP. We just said, hey, hold the phone. Yeah, we want to address wildfire. Yeah, we want to address hurricane, but we need some for ag. And that's, so WIP Plus, the name is just, this is the ag program. And so the idea was, well, crop insurance is your #1 risk management. Farm building, we tried to design this one. Crop insurance is #1 risk management. So WIP Plus is purposely built on crop insurance. So the idea is to round it up, but now, of course, we're seeing, and we've had this problem before, but we're really seeing where it's not just a bushless crop, where your number of bushels may actually per acre. It's flowing around. So how do they, all of us, RMA, FSA, how do we build something that makes some sense here? I thought Rob did a really good job of explaining, why he's kind of, this is one of those years where we're really stuck with it. So I'm just trying to make sure we get some good guidance from you guys into, and the commissioner's already been working on this with Martin ever since we had him up in Minot, and he does seem very open. But hopefully we can help figure out how to do it so it's something we can actually work. And that's why I'm very serious about, if the Ag Commission, with our guys, can even take a lead on getting some of this input. And then doing some spade work with Martin, and then we'll have to figure out who building.
He's head of farm programs. But he's got a staff.
He'll have some guys
Yep,
working
yep,
on it.
exactly.
He'll have some guys working on it. But we start to feed them some things and get some reaction to it. And have a meeting, because I think that always kind of creates a timeline and stuff. So where you're going to come down and see some sort of things.
With the WIP process, is there just a certain window that it's open for producers to apply?
Nope. Ongoing program. So the thing with WIP Plus is you have to have your production done, whether you're insured or not insured, and you have to have an, RMA data that's preferably. I'm just looking at a stat here. In North Dakota, 97% of producers are insured under an RMA policy. So that's, that's saying that we have to work hand in hand with these, crop adjustments. And so that window will probably be open for a long, long period of time because a lot of these claims aren't going to be settled until post-June and that harvest is done.
And if you, let's say, I'll give you a scenario, and this is for sunflower. Let's say you filed and you claim, well, then you find out 2-3 months down the road, we have some issues with confectionery sunflower where the returns was perfect. I mean, they didn't have a loss of harvest because it couldn't have been, but a few months down the road, they haul it into the processing plant and realize they have harvest. They had no clue. You can't tell them until you actually fry it. Can that producer then file another?
Another or
an amendment or something? Can they do that?
Well, yeah, I think you should, but I think you should leave that open until you actually get the point of delivery and not settle on any quality issues. So
Don't sign off on the claims.
yeah, just exactly.
Because they won't know. I mean, I'm talking to producers, they didn't know until they delivered it.
Yep.
Oh my God, I got 2% harvest, I got rejected. Well, you're the seller's money for that.
Companies aren't going to appreciate having open claims, but I'm encouraging and advocating people, if you're not really sure until you're all the way done, don't sign it.
Quality issues, bushels, that's going to take congressional action. Being copied over years, especially out of contract by private companies that believe that this is the way the system works. I think you're going to have to go back into the farm corporate and fix that issue. That's a bigger issue than current quality and quality. That might be a bushel thing we're going to fix. It really is a long-term problem we've had forever.
Mark, you mean the bushel with the yield, the APH?
Yes, yeah, that's got to happen.
RMA's got something coming out of that in I believe it's for the 2021 crop year, where you're going to have, if you've got a low yield in your APH because of a quality issue, you're going to be able to take an option that would allow you to put the actual, your actual production in and replace that low yield with the actual production. There'll be a surcharge for that. It'll be a lot like the yield adjustment or the yield exclusion that's currently in there. And this came right from RMA. Spoke with Heather Manzano 2 weeks ago, and she brought that up. But I think it's for the 2021 crop year. But you'll be able to go back to all the 10 years of your history and correct any of those. So they are working on the solution.
It's worked on, but it's something we've been working on for quite a while. And again, it really comes from how it's written in the farm group. And now they've created a system to.
I think they can do it without legislative action. They'll offer it as an option. Well, that's why we need to keep digging into it and see, because if it does require legislation, then we should get that legislation going.
So it wouldn't help with the 19 production, though, like what the commissioner was talking about.
Well,
In your 2021 crop year, you'll be able to correct your 2019 production.
Okay.
So you'll be able to buy a higher coverage and pay more premium, but there may be a cost.
There'll be a little surcharge to it. But that's where actual production, that's where like the commission's talking too, if you can base that off the township, for example, versus the county, and those kind of things. What changes they can make and which ones would require legislation, so.
I believe that's pretty well fleshed out already, because the crop insurance company we write to has discussed that.
Well, we push it real hard. Commissioner had a headlock.
Got two stories. I'm representing the independent community banks in North Dakota, and I guess maybe if I could add one thing, and that would be speed is of the essence on a lot of these issues, because we're looking at 2020 financing. We have crops that are out in the field. We don't know what the quality adjustments are going to be for that. What the value, what is the value of that going on? How are you going to value it? And then when you get to next year's cash flow projections, as a for instance, MFP payments in our area have been a real saver for the farmer, but it's almost impossible to use those as part of your projections because there's no certainty around those payments.
Right.
And so any certainty that we can add to any of those processes will be invaluable to the farmers as we look ahead to cash flow projections. All the loan programs and stuff that we've got, they're all needed, they're all great, but if they don't cash flow, it's really tough to get those approved.
Right, now, I mean, that was one of the reasons in the trade stuff, I really pushed hard on the trade team that they have to get a commitment to purchases from the Chinese. Because those markets have moved away from us. Soybeans, you're talking Brazil, and we've got to have them back for our producers. And so requiring those purchases, I think, is one way to try to make sure we're back in those markets making sales. Same thing with knocking down some of the non-tariff barriers on cattle sales in China. They're supposed to be buying a lot more beef, but they still always come up with some issue. And it may not be even a tariff, but a non-tariff, which is just so low or something. So that's an effort to try to get at, ultimately we don't want MFP, we want markets and savings. But I understand.
But we need something, some certainty.
Something in between there to get hopefully, and again, that's why I bring up that trade phase one deal. I'm hoping some commitment for sales will help with that concern.
I think what he's playing at is time is going to get away on this. So if you don't know if you're getting the third tranche of money, for sure, probably will. But even in 2021 on the purchases, they don't actually do that till 2021. We have a whole other crop coming in here with surpluses. So you almost need to be talking what's the next financial disaster program to deal with low prices until that happens. If the market's not responding.
Under the agreement, and again, planning to have this signed first part of January. The commitment is for 2020 and 2020. So that 40 to 50 billion commitment triggers for 20.
So we're sitting on a lot of funds.
I'm agreeing with your point and saying these are hopefully help work it down. Donovan, you've been awfully quiet for a potato here, I'll tell you what.
Just waiting my turn, I guess.
Okay.
Thank you, Senator. The man who understands agriculture, and you go to bat for us. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Commissioner Goring, thank you also for what you're doing. Brad, for what you're doing also. It's not without a team effort, obviously, to promote not just potatoes, but all the commodities that get impacted. So thank you for that. A couple of things. Thank you for the $1 million extra dollars for potato research through ARS. 2 weeks ago, I was in a meeting with ARS here in the Fargo office. Fort Collins, who is the oversight regional office, was there. And this was literally hot off the press. Tom had sent me an email on this, and so we talked about it that next morning. And my comment to the Fort Collins office was, I hope some of this money filters down to the Fargo office. Because I've been to DC and talked to ARS and understand who makes the decisions, and of course they were trying to push it away and saying, yeah, we don't know Senator Hoeven's intent. I said, I can tell you his intent, probably. He's from North Dakota. He probably appreciates some of that money spent in North Dakota. Oh, well, yeah, well, we'll have to check with his staff and see if that's the case. So I said, we can call them right now. No, I was, you know,
I think I was very
jesting.
shrewd on your part.
Yes.
Very astute.
I was just jesting, but thank you for it, because we were without any potato researchers at ARS.
Which I didn't know until you came in and told me. I didn't realize.
Yes, and so they are now in the process of hiring one, and hopefully there will be enough money to hire the second one. And the facility in East Grand Forks is the only facility of its kind in the U.S. that does the research it does, and definitely needs funding. So thank you for that. And so I throw it out to say, you know, if they're calling and saying, Senator Hoeven, what was your intent? You know, I think you'd be the permission to say, well, Marco can use some dollars. Anyway, on the WIP Plus program, I'm trying to understand a little bit about the process as relates to the insured and non-insured benefactors here. If you have insurance, obviously, as you've just mentioned, it's essentially an add-on, a top-off, 15–20%. That would come to the grower at no additional cost to the grower. It's a disaster relief payment. For those that don't have any insurance, that didn't have any insurance, you can get up to 70% payment. But my understanding is the caveat to that is the requirement you have to purchase at a minimum of 60% coverage for the next 2 years if you elect that coverage.
Right.
So that to me is not a disaster relief payment. That's a payment that says we'll pay you now, but pay us back later. Whereas the insured gets 15–20% additional coverage at no cost. Is there a way to get the non-insured grower some dollars, maybe it's not 70% level, maybe it's something less, that is truly a disaster relief payment that doesn't come with a repayment requirement? Because these people are struggling. They need cash flow. They need dollars just like everybody else does. But mostly because of the tremendous cost for potato insurance, they don't purchase. Is there some way to adjust that 70% level to a lower amount that says if you take this level, there is no cost of repayment? Because if they couldn't afford it this year, they aren't going to afford it at 60% level for the next 2 years if they take dollars today. I mean, so I'm just throwing that out and saying, is there something that can be done here on that level?
That hadn't really come up before.
No,
and most of our guys have crop insurance, so that wasn't one that.
Potatoes is a unique situation.
But I know potatoes are a little bit. So I'm glad you got an idea.
You know, other than I think this has been around since the 80s when we came up with any disaster program, that was a way to get the people bought into the crop insurance program, and that's kind of what we're doing in the potato industry. But Donovan, like you say, that it's very expensive and not doing it. I'm not into writing rules and regs. That would have to be the guy to my left, and then you'd have to probably have that caveat put in there. But it's something that probably has never been thought about because, you know, it's deemed good business sense to have insurance.
Well, we're working on the next year's Agriculture, so I mean we can start. Had you brought that up to our crew?
Have not.
Oh. So I guess we could, Kamish, come up with something brilliant.
Well, this has I get a call on it about every week. And
from the potato guys?
From the non-insured.
Because most of our guys, not get. What percentage?
97%.
Have coverage on some crop.
Yes, yes, yep, yes.
And through all these conversations, I get that people are a bit frustrated, but it's really not a repayment. Because every farmer out there that's been paying for crop insurance doesn't get paid all the time either. And the only advantage they get, and I'll take myself for example, I buy 70% coverage. I'm not a 75 guy because it's just too cost prohibitive on our farm anyways. And it's going to kick it up to 87% that we'll have a new coverage level. But I'm sympathetic, but there's a lot of farmers that have pushed back on the other side of that have said, we've been paying premiums and they're just giving us a little percentage more. And they have said that's And I can't disagree, it's pretty generous to get 70%. Probably working off of my county average, which county averages have come up tremendously because of technology, because of practices, systems. And I know it's difficult. I think previously there was at least a minimum of 50%. I didn't know it went to 60. But
that was Colin Peterson that said he thought that's what it was.
Oh, I knew you have to do at least 5,100. Or is it 6,100?
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do is not.
Is it 50 or 60?
6,100. 6,100 for 2 years.
For 2 years.
And the insured producer has to do that also. It's not just the uninsured.
Anybody
Who gets a WIP plus payment
Well,
has to take insurance on
Donna's
that
just
crop.
saying there are fewer percentage of potato growers that take insurance.
So there
right?
are less.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there are less growers obviously take insurance because there's tremendous costs associated with it. So what I don't mean to do is mix apples and oranges here, since this is a separate program, a WIP plus disaster relief program, separate from, hey, we've been purchasing insurance all these years, we haven't gotten a payment on it, et cetera. Well, that's separate from, that's crop insurance. This is a disaster relief payment. And I'm simply saying if the disaster relief payment is a, and I'll use these terms broadly, a no-cost add-on benefit to the grower who has insurance, is there a likewise benefit to those that don't have insurance that may not be at that level of 70%? That's all I'm saying. It's a disaster relief to pay for what has happened here.
All right, Tom and Aaron, better put that on our list to see. We'll check into it. Donna, start working with you, you know.
Maybe
Put it on your list too.
40%. If we went down to 40%.
Yeah, I don't know what the number would be.
Maybe next time I get another one of those calls, I can ask them, how low do you want to go before you don't have to pay or participate? Ask some guys like that. I'd like to know down, or have them call me. I'll visit them. I'd just like to know where should that threshold be.
But thank you for all that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to be working on the quality adjustment and stuff, so we can see about that.
And quality
And
issues.
I mean, there'll be opportunities to make some adjustments.
Yeah.
I just am not sure what that is based on what's we brought up. But
And quality issues will be the same with potatoes also, that get harvested and there's some frost damage that doesn't appear until it's been in storage for 60 days or something of that nature. It's the same issue with other commodities also.
most of your growers grow the crops, right? And they carry coverage on those crops. All right, guys, we should start wrapping up.